retrieve the information from the database, and I'm having trouble right now getting like individual like just a single person's name, but I've been able to like retrieve all the information uh, of a user if I wanted to on the database. So that's like where we're at right now. And I think we're also working on trying to hash the video because we don't want to, because I think one of the problems we had is that we realized like we can't put like the whole video on the blockchain. So we're gonna try and just put like a name on it, or just the name of it, and we would be able to retrieve it that way. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I was gonna add a little bit that for a video, the post function works only um, for messages, but for video we are trying to. I have not implemented yet, but I'm in the process of implementing the IPFS infra.io. This is the IPFS API that allows to connect, like allows us to send the videos to their like Ethereum blockchain. I haven't figured out like how it specifically works, but it seems like I've seen some repos using that as an IPFS, and that's probably once we implement that, we would be able to don't upload and download videos and images to, and basically use it as like uh, as a host for our um, media.
Okay. So just to recap, I guess I lost a little bit in translation from the last time we talked. So you have these user profiles, and the user profiles like upload videos. Just like product sense wise, what's the like video portion about?
Um, what do you mean by like what is the video portion about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I could answer that. I
Okay.
think right now I mean ultimately I think we want to connect with like alumni and have like the students send like a generic message, like a very informal, like you can post like a video or like a message, and then the alumni can like comment on it, and then you could start like a conversation like that.
The idea then is to milk as to get with the alum in a way that hasn't been done now. I mean, right now what's happening is the university, we spend lots of time with the alums network, but here it's more non-for-profit, I guess, relationship where, hey, come on in, meet with each other. We're talking to Alan Frank, who was saying, he would love to have gotten in touch with other alums where he used to be working with, but he can't, right? Because he can't connect with them. The university connects with him, but he doesn't connect with them. And the students don't really connect with the alums either in a way that is more efficient. One of my students got a job, but he contacted one person and then they hooked up that way. But there's no uniform way or more, as Jesse was discussing, more streamlined way of getting that communications going, because there's a need, I guess, there's a need for it, but it's not being explored until now.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I wasn't just sure like what the demands on the video were, and like that kind of thing. And so just to recap, so before you're looking at storing some assets on chain, but of course that's incredibly expensive. So now you want to store like the IPFS hash on chain. So that way you can then store like a key value pair, and then you can resolve like what account address links to like what set of data. And then you can then use that to display your host. One of the things I would say is I would get that like going from the free version. And then if you needed like sort of better hosting, because like one of the things that you'll need to do for each of the videos that are like sort of uploaded is like pen the video. Right now there's kind of a hack or rather they probably just want more people to use the service. But if you use pinata.cloud, and you use that as your gateway, then you'll be able to like get fast access to the thing that's downloading. Because a lot of the problems are if you use like sort of like either your own penning service or a global penning service, that can be sometimes slow. And that's because it doesn't go through caching and things like that. So people that are, I think it's been Yada that cloud. I might have sent you somewhere. Yeah, I did. I sent you to a good place. But like basically using this penning service, even though it is roughly about $20 a month, there's also the free tier. So you could use the free tier until you need to use the more expensive tier. But this will mean that like your hosted content is a lot faster than if it's not. So that would be like sort of one sort of suggestion. And I would even use the free tier as your gateway for development, as just because it's going to be that much faster. And that's kind of one of those things that people don't ever mention, is that IPFS is incredibly slow by nature of it being decentralized. So you need service providers that will cache the data at edge locations. So one way I think about that from like the computer science like aspect of it is that like you're only ever going to be able to travel as fast as the speed of light. So even if you're in Europe to get to the distance of like America, that's going to take some sort of delay. And then if you add routers and repeaters and all that stuff. So it's always way more efficient to like push out the data. And because the data is never changing, retrieve that data from a closer locale for the locale of origin. And so Cloudflare does this a little bit, but I've found that Cloudflare doesn't really allow you to like pay for a service. So it's much like faster. So the Pinata gateway is really nice. Okay, other questions or other comments?
Thank you very much. That was really insightful. I was also about to ask about our, regular Web2 database. It seems like we're trying to figure out how do we store the user profile pictures. So right now, our resolution is that we store the user profile pictures, picture like names. Let's say like when the user uploads the picture to their profile, we rename it to 1.png, 2.png, and increment that by 1, because we don't want to like have repeating names in the same for the same we don't want to have the repeating names, and then we like install that locally to the folder, install the like upload the picture to the folder, and basically the database would just contain the name of that picture, and each time we need to use that picture, we call the local name, call it in the folder by local name. Do you think it is an optimal way, or how do people like go about using the profile picture? Because you obviously can't like host the whole picture in the database.
Well, a couple different like sort of ways in which people do this. So in traditional Web 2, typically what people will do is they'll have like sort of an upload feature. And so that will go over like sort of a post request. And then when you do the upload on the back end, your server will then say, okay, cool, I got this image. Is it in the right parameter format? So it will check like sort of the size of that. It will check the content length. And then sometimes people will do like either like a processing on it. And that could be either to like do cropping or to render in multiple formats. And if you're doing that, then people will take this data onto an input, put it directly in S3, and then queue the job for processing. So your service returns back quickly right after uploading. And then traditional Web 2, if you're not going to do any sort of post-processing or things like that, what you'll end up doing is getting the data and then taking a hash of the content. And so what this prevents you from doing is, let's say I have a photo called meme1. That's the exact same photo as your meme1. And then when I upload it, that would mean I would have duplicate storage. But instead, if you're taking a hash of the content, then that means that you'll be able to get one sort of unique representation ID for that. And then you can resolve like who contains that data like in the database. So if you had a table of, let's say user ID, and then profile hash, and this was like your media table, something like, I'm going to do pseudo syntax here, and I'll just show like tuples. And this can be like, and then could also do this if you wanted. Right. And so like this kind of thing is just saying like, you have some table where you're going to have a lookup between the user ID that links to maybe the media. And this could be all of the media hash stuff. And so when you're querying for like what to represent for a user, it could be a join across the user ID for the user media table and maybe some other account data. And so when you pull that all back, you then get what it is that you're looking for. Sort of the other thing to sort of consider here is that like whenever you're taking a hash of the content, it's not that dissimilar than the CIDs that are used within IPFS. So all we're saying is this like content addressable data has like this additional utility. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I sorry for the question. Like for some reason I considered hash to be like a buffer of the file that you can like that you can take that you can like build the file on. So when you translate the file into the buffer of bytes and then like convert it, the buffer of bytes, you can easily convert it back to the file. I for some reason thought that the hash is something like that. And what does the hash do like in the low level? How would we use the hash again? Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, sure. No worries. Okay, so one of the things I'm talking about is, let's say that you had an arbitrarily large stream of data. Let's say like Oh. You know, I really do need to come up with a good, like, sort of like almost like whiteboard app or something. But you have an arbitrary large set of data. I'm just gonna pound on a bunch of stuff into the chat. Right. So like this is, we'll say that this represents like some binary data that is the actual image. So what you would do is you would apply a hash of this. Let's say, what's a good hash? Oh, you can do SHA-1. That's fine. Because we're not trying to do anything for like security purposes. We're just doing things to like sort of compress the data. So we apply the SHA-1 to dot, dot, dot. And this will then produce something that looks more like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do something like, yeah, we'll say something like this. And so basically, and if you change any bit of this, then it will read back into this hash format. And so if you like change the A to a B, then you get a different hash. But what this allows you to do is to basically create a unique identifier for the data that you're going to need to reference or store. And so in traditional Web 2, what would happen is you would have this like 0xAB D345 S6 hash. And you would then upload your content to S3 with the name 0xAB D345S6. And what that would then allow you to do is in your database, whenever you're doing a query, you would then return back the URL that corresponds to that. So that would mean that your S3, I'll say my bucket, let's see, .s3 .us east to something .com. And then / s3 : / it could be, you have the ability to like organize your data in a couple different ways, but you could do something like user profiles, and then you could do 0xABD345S6. And that would be the bucket that you would get back. And then what you would do with, say, like CloudFront is then you would place a, basically you would have a router that sits in front of it that then takes the incoming like sort of domain information. So it could be my project, so let's see, yes, my project / profiles. And I'm just going to use the implies equals greater than arrow as like just a way to say like it's a mapping from one thing to the next. And we'll say that like you do this, and then if you wanted, you can then say 0xAB345S6. So basically, it then allows you to like go through your database, and when you're retrieving like sort of user like profile information, you can quickly refer to just a normal / route and like whatever the file type is at the end. So that's kind of one of the details I kind of just like left off, is that you would then keep whatever file type that you have appended towards the end. And then like what that'll allow you to do is to then like link that to like sort of the website. Like in an older time period, people would do this thing called base64 encoding a small image, and then they could even put the whole image into the database and a thing called like a blob, and the blob would be in a separate table, and like that would just be the reason why you would do that back in the day is because like having locality or a data request wasn't as robust, and there weren't so many like S3 like services and things like that that did like good caching. And so you would want to just store all the data as close as possible to the request that you're making. So you could have some images, etc., and then there would be no translation. But that's not really the pattern that's used anymore, just because it's more expensive, and it just kind of clutters up your DB. It's just not really needed, especially because like with edge casting, like everything ends up being really quick. And then when the images are stored on the cache like that, then it also means that the browser can cache as well. So like on the first request, when someone comes to your website, what will happen is the request will go out from the client browser to like S3. There will be some sort of content like expiration on that, but it will probably never be evicted. So I guess the very first hit, there's a cache miss. It goes to S3, it retrieves back the image, and then it sits on like sort of one of those edge caches. So for you, it may be something like it sits in Philadelphia. And so when a request is made from the browser, it gets back this data. And then when you're browsing on the website again, it will never re-request that that image from the server even, just because the browser itself has the cache. And as long as the cache expiry on that is sufficiently long, which typically it is, then you won't suffer multiple requests for that same image multiple times. The same is true for IPFS as well. So like I would say that's like the traditional S3 pattern. If you wanted to load everything onto IPFS, then the thing that I would do, which I'm not sure exactly how slow this is, but IPFS allows you to also use IPLD, but you probably wouldn't need to. But it can allow you to also produce a CID, which is equivalently the same thing as the hash. The only difference is the CID is a different type of like format. So it has some self-describing information within its data format that is maybe like, I think it's pretty sort of futuristic in terms of like data storage. But it allows you to like use the same sort of hash. So like, let's say that you wanted to store your user profile still on S3, you could use the same hashing scheme as the CID. And then the benefit of doing that is that you're saying that you could always migrate your data to IPFS at a later point, and that would be the same equivalent. So you could go through your database, do a full table scan, and then like upload that data. And that would be like that. Does that make sense? Or are there still more questions? Or am I like, yeah.
No. Actually, it makes a really lot of sense. We just the problem is just like we're running late a little bit. I know Professor Zora doesn't want us to do. Thanks for really much for sharing that with us. Yeah, I honestly have some more questions, but I think I would formalize them and send them on Discord since we have the channel.
Yeah.
And you can answer them at your convenience, okay?
Yeah. And just from like recap. If anyone is interested in like working on what I'm working on or things that are like within that realm, so like Steven, yeah, just ping me. There's plenty of opportunity. It doesn't all have to be in Rust. I guess my mind was going to smart contract development. And specifically, I'm doing that in Rust. There's a project that I'm looking to kickstart that may be more along the lines of like Solidity, that has to do with building sort of almost A/B testing for tokens, which I haven't really talked about very much, but more or less the focus would be probably Swapland or ships, and that's just kind of building out tooling around like sort of token engineering. And then I also have some front end style work, so if people are into that, that would be cool. And if people are into marketing, I'm also looking for people that are into that and are interested in the community side of things. So yeah, get at me. And then I'll just drop my Discord in the channel to you. So feel free to like ping me on Discord or on LinkedIn. Cool.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
All right.
Really
Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, have a great one.